As we enter a new year, I'm amazed at all of the changes that we as a global population have had to face, from not having masks as an everyday occurrence to masks being a talking point on media and in day-to-day conversation, from feeling like you're pretty safe and secure and healthy to not knowing if you're going to get some type of deathly virus at any given moment with any given contact, right? And from everything in between, we are facing a lot of changes and transitions and challenges as a global population, but that's globally. We also have a lot of interpersonal changes that we face on any given day, right? I'm pregnant. I had to deal with a transition of not being pregnant to being pregnant, and now I'm about to have a baby. So, that's a year worth of transitions there. Um, Monica here, who's joining me, we were speaking before the show started about transitions from being married to what it's like to not being married and different things in families that happen, right? So we all have changes that we have to face on the daily that without really solid mental resiliency and maturity sometimes can be very difficult to cope with. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about transitions, how to deal with it, how to think about them, how to cope, how to process, and just whatever comes up is going to come up. Hi, I'm Nicolette Moore, and I'm one of the coaches on This Is Coaching show. And we are just here to help provide you with some insight into what coaching is all about, what it's like, what we do as coaches, how we coach clients whenever we do work with them, and everything in between, because we think you're worth it and we think the world's worth having amazing coaches out there to serve you. So let's get into this, Monica. Monica hails from Switzerland.
Yes.
So we live, what, a world away, it feels, right?
Yeah.
And yet we still have very similar transitions we're all coping with globally, right? With the COVID situation that's ongoing. Um, you know, I'm curious what your perspective is, because you're, we have like I commented, we've got these global transitions that we as a people experience collectively. And then we have interpersonal transitions, and we kind of have to navigate all of it at the same time. What are your thoughts on the idea of transitions, both globally and interpersonally?
Well, up until recently, I don't think anybody really had thought much about all these transitions because life seemed to be so much easier a year ago. We didn't have all this. We didn't have to um, figure out how to. I have a friend of mine. She used to live here. She moved to Dublin, and she's back here for the weekend. And just not being able to hug her, for example, because I haven't seen her for 3 months. And just because of the COVID and always having to keep the distance, it's hard. And so interpersonally, it's hard because we keep living in this bubble, all of us. You don't have the people are used to touching other people, to be close to other people, and we're not allowed to do that any longer. And that's hard for a lot of people. And I see that even when I walk into a store, people don't even look you in the eyes any longer. They live in their own bubble, and they don't talk to you. You don't. It's like invisible,
Mm.
and that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, I have to admit, the whole COVID situation, this transition from what life was pre-COVID to what it is now has been a bitch for me. I'm not even going to try to pretend. It has been such a strain on my mental resiliency. it's been hard for me to cope with. I exactly what you said, Monica. I regarding, eye contact. Eye contact is such a precious, precious thing. And I realize how much I miss eye contact when I go to the grocery store. I
Mm.
remember when the masks were first implemented, we'd go to the store and it's like nobody looked at each other.
Yeah.
It was very creepy. It was very weird. And I think everyone felt it. We just all kind of felt like zombified, and I don't know, but it took me months to really cope with it, to really get to the point where I could go out, and I don't know, I'm still bothered by it. I'm not gonna lie. I can't go to a store and not be bothered by the fact that everyone's wearing masks. Um, it's just not natural to me. And so this is something that affects us on interpersonal levels, like you said, as well as it affects our ability to travel. It affects our ability to go to work if we have an office that we should be or have normally in the past gone to. School, everything has been affected by this.
Yeah, but then you have to learn to live with it in a way. And as coaches, we probably have some ideas of how to do this, how to navigate this. But there are so many people out there that don't, right? They don't know how to deal with it and what to do to make this not feel so bad.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree, and I think that you know how can a coach help somebody if we're going to just talk about COVID, because there are so many different ways or different forms of transitions that are happening right now, politically, with the seasons, the new year, there are a lot of changes in the air, so to speak. um, when it comes to something as big as COVID, you know is a coach really beneficial, or how can a coach be beneficial to somebody? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I suppose uh, you cannot do anything about the global situation. Like, it's just going to be how it is, and it's just how you react to it. It's even when you were talking earlier about how the transition from the being married to being divorced, and I had that problem with Christmas and having to create all new traditions, all a new way of doing things, and I had to do that for the whole family. But that I could do because it's for a group of family and it's easy to contain. But as one person in a society where you're not allowed to not wear a mask, it's hard, right? To do that. So a coach would probably have to just work on every single person and make them feel strong enough to be able to live well in a situation that can be hard, because people
Mm.
have been living in difficult situations for centuries, for millions of years. This is not probably not the worst one,
Yeah,
but it's hard for us now to figure out a way to navigate it,
yeah,
a way and get out on the other side and be a better person, right?
yeah. Yeah, it may not be the worst in history for sure, but it's like it's our history, right? It's our
Right.
collective struggle that we have to navigate. And yeah, I think coaches in this instance, it's funny because I've really lost my mind over it. I've gotten very anxious and nervous and stressed, not nervous, just anxious and stressed about the mask situation or going out in public, and for any number of reasons. And I think it comes down to, for me at least, just I want the sensation of normal. I want to go out and be able to feel like everything's okay, and everything feels very much not okay. And it's a control issue too, at least for me. These are things that I've analyzed, I've thought about, I have journaled over, I have spoken extensively to, those I trust, simply to try to navigate my own mind. Like, why am I reacting the way I do? Why is this affecting me the way it does? And so with coaching, I think the gift in coaching, especially around something so significant as COVID, or um, even transitioning from, again, like an office to a home space where now you're surrounded by kids and your stuff, and the environment is just different. It can be difficult to emotionally adjust to and cope with, and and process. The gift in coaching is the insight that you can get within yourself, right? Like, I don't believe coaching is a magic pill. I don't believe coaching is there to um, make your life like you're floating on a cloud full of rainbows, and there's glitter just off shooting everywhere you go.
No.
Coaching is there, you have a coach to help you navigate your thoughts, your reactions, like Monica just said, um, and to help you to become more healthy about the way that you're processing your life in a way that empowers you to be better.
I
What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's really well said.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. So what are some tools? I came to this morning thinking we could talk about transitions as a whole, and the more I speak, the more I realize that it's tools could be kind of generic for transition, but and I think most coaching modalities work no matter what you're experiencing, right? As far as like you're asking questions to get clarity, to get a result, to free up um, something that's keeping you from living the life that you really want to live.
Right.
And so the topic of transitions, is maybe not as simple as I had come to the conversation thinking, because my transition from being pregnant to having a baby, it's going to be challenging for me, right? It's just no doubt. I've got 4 kids at home. I've got a lot of weight to lose. I've got a business to grow, so I have, and then I have a whole house full of things that need to be taken care of, and I homeschool kids. So, life is just crazy. But that transition is a bit different than going from, hey, I can go out to Costco or shopping or restaurants anytime I want and everything's fine, to nobody can look at each other or touch each other, right? So these are like different degrees, and we all process and think about them differently. So I don't know, I feel like I'm running around in circles at the moment.
Well, sometimes though, this type of situation can cause a lot of anxiety and worry in people. I use tapping for that.
Oh, let's
That sort of
talk
will
about tapping.
take away that really the fear and anxiety that you feel, because it by touching these meridian points on your face and on your body, you get access to calming a part of your nervous system that doesn't know what words are, which is where really
Mm,
that core part of your brain that comes from, well, ancient times, that doesn't really understand words but needs affection and care as well. So I use tapping for that. I don't know
mm.
if you have any other things that you use when you feel anxious or.
Well, for I love the idea of tapping. For anybody who may be listening to this or watching this right now, we just put out I think the previous episode is on the tapping. So we go in deep about tapping, and Monica leads myself and one of our colleagues, Trish Johnson, through some tapping exercises. So you should definitely check that out. Um, I think tapping is very interesting and something that I would like to integrate more in my life. Um, One thing that I found is easy to integrate, and something that I think people I think we naturally do, but without the proper mindset, it may not be effective, and that's breathing. Deep breath, intentional breath, but breath that is there to help you still your mind, to get you to a place where you can process whatever emotions you're feeling. So, for example, if I go out and I'm having anxiety about having to put on a mask to go into a store, I can sit in my car prior to departing. I can have some intentional deep breath just to calm my system down. And then I can talk myself through, certain questions to help me prepare for what I'm about to experience. So I can ask myself things like, is this really worth the anxiety? Is this, what is the harm, or what is the worst thing that's going to happen from me wearing a mask in the store and coming out? So just asking myself little questions to help me return to a state of, okay, it's not that big of a deal. I just need to chill. I can do this.
Yeah, I remember too. During the summer, we had the first period of COVID, and then there was a time where it was not much, and but then it started up again. So I run a little ice cream shop in the summer, and at a certain point we had to wear a mask, and I was completely against it. I just did not want to wear it. I just There was nothing in me that wanted it. But when I got to the realization, that inner core realization, that if I didn't put on a mask, I might not because I would get sick, but it would compromise my ability to run the place. It would compromise my ability to earn money. It would sort of affect a lot of different areas. All the stuff that we had prepared or bought to sell, for example, I would just have to throw that away. So when I got to that inner realization that it's it's okay, and it's for my good, and it's even though I don't like it, there is a reason behind it. And when I
Mhm.
understood the reason, I was able to put on the mask and go on with my day without much problem. So I don't know if anybody else, or if you can find some kind of reason or silver lining to the fact that you are wearing a mask, and you are affected by this, but not it doesn't take away from you as a person.
Mm.
It just adds to who you are in a way.
Well, I love that you pointed out some things that I think that we as a people don't consider enough, and that's unintended consequences of your actions. So, um, for example, one of the, speaking of COVID and the massive impact it's made on this planet, unintended consequences that were not considered, or if they had been, shame on whoever considered them, with the powers that be. But unintended consequences of shutting down business, of course, is the economic depression that would follow, the supply chain being affected, um, possibly millions more starving and dying because they can't have access to clean water, clean food, just all of the horrendous problems that occurred globally because business was forced to shut down. And then that doesn't even include um, emotional issues, right? It doesn't include the abuse, the depression, the suicide on the rise, all of these unintended consequences of something that seemed to be the right move, hadn't been thought out very well. And so Monica just made a great point about, there is a time where you may struggle with a transition because it may not align with your values per se, or you may have an issue with some degree of this change that you're facing. But whenever you think about the unintended consequences, if she had been stubborn and said, no, I'm absolutely not going to wear these masks, then she couldn't have had a successful summer, bringing in really good money and doing something good for her community. I'm sure something that brought a lot of joy into her community by preparing this, having this little ice cream stand. And she had the foresight to say, you know, I could choose to resist, but then I don't get to serve, I don't get to give back, and I'm going to be lacking myself. There's going to be a lot of unintended consequences. So I think that's a great way to think about how you're handling and coping with the hard transitions in your life. What are unintended consequences of your behavior?
Yeah, and that goes into anything, like even just not I don't know if you celebrate Christmas, but for example, for me with my kids, not celebrating Christmas, or I know a dad who just disappeared on Christmas Eve and didn't come back until 3 days later, and the kids had sort of organized themselves Christmas. It's without the mother, and it's hard. So just sort of deciding to not do something about it, and just, yeah, and just, I mean, sometimes we just have to suck it up. Sorry.
Yeah, you can suck things up. It is good as coaches for us to try to not only get control of our own minds, but help those that we work with
Yeah,
gain
because not
control of their own minds.
everybody like this father. He didn't know how to cope with
Yeah,
Christmas without the wife, so he just decided to go away.
yeah,
And the unintended uh, result of that is, well, the kids will have bad memories about Christmas because they were alone and they
yeah,
had to figure it out on them for themselves.
yeah. I mean, that's heartbreaking for many different reasons. Yeah, so these are things that, if I were with a client and they were struggling to deal with a particular season, a particular transition, um, just going through some of the simple steps Monica and I have shared today. Whether I probably wouldn't use tapping because I'm not a tapping coach, and I'm not familiar with tapping well enough that I think that I would want to lead somebody in that. But I love the idea of it. And for me, it would be a series of just questions, just prompts to help whoever is on the other side of the screen, um, help them to process what they're saying, what they're thinking, so that they can walk away more empowered to handle the situation in a more healthy way. Um, Monica, what are so you had an interesting Christmas, new traditions, new
Yeah.
experiences, and having the COVID cloud over the whole situation, knowing that it was just going to be kind of off this year. How how do you feel like you handled the new this new season or this new experience?
Well, I think it went okay. I'm not sure about. Well, I think actually the kids also. I mean, they're fine. they they know now that things doesn't always have to be the same. We try to have, well, we have some traditions that we follow every year, and that sort of puts the way of of feeling calm and protected, and feeling that everything is okay. So I suppose even in any situation, even with wearing masks, if there's something with that we can do that makes us feel normal in one way or another, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think I keep hearing you say that would make us feel okay. And I think ultimately that is what makes change hard, is this sensation of, is everything going to be okay? Am I
Yeah.
going to come out on the other side okay, safe, happy, protected, thriving, like, and so I feel like that's something worth being aware of and paying attention to, because ultimately, no matter what we're experiencing, what kind of transition we're going through, we have that power within us to find that safety and security. So in the moments where I might be in panic over having to put on a mask, I can remind myself that it's it's not the mask's job or purpose or role to make me feel safe and secure, whether I'm wearing one or not. Right. And so that's something that I have to find within myself. And no matter what, the transition into having this fifth boy, I have to I have to dig within myself and realize that this is a gift that's been given to me. I have to embrace it and recognize that he's here for a reason, and learning to do the breath work and the inquisitive um questioning of, why do I react a particular way, or why would I feel stressed about having a new little baby boy in my life, so the idea that we just all want to feel safe, and we all want to feel like everything's going to be okay. I think that's really that's it's quite profound. In the most, it seems simple, but it's quite profound.
Yeah. Yeah, because in our own house, we probably do feel okay as long as you're inside your own little bubble of friends and family. Everything seems normal. But when you walk outside of the bubble and into the stores and into the community and having to deal with things from the outside, that is sort of the moment where you need this extra
Gotta dig in
dig.
yourself and just realize it is going to be okay. Just take it a step at a time, and you'll make it back home, and you can take off the mask, and you're going to be all right. um so transitions happen on so many levels, like we've talked about, and whatever transition you're going through, know that you have the power within yourself, as hard as it may seem to tap into. You have the power within yourself to find that safety, to find that power to conquer whatever the challenging situation is. If you're in a situation where you feel like you want some additional support, there are a bounty of coaches that would love to support you. And I encourage you to look into it. Monica and I are two of a very large and growing field of coaches who really just want to help serve the world and serve people like you. And it's so worth it. Having a coach by your side to push you, to help you to think differently and see things from a new perspective, there's really not a price that you can put on that. And so I encourage you to reach out, to find somebody that you feel would be a great fit for your life and for the purpose that you're trying to overcome, or whatever challenges you're trying to conquer. A coach can definitely help you push past whatever's going on whatever transition you're facing and help you to get to the other side in a way that's healthy, in a way that is fruitful, and in a way that will bring you on the other side a bigger, bolder, more powerful person. What do you think about that, Monica? You
Oh
agree?
yeah, so true. And also when you have a coach, you have the possibility to actually talk about your problem, even for half an hour or an hour.
Mhm.
You don't get that possibility when you talk with friends or with family. You get perhaps 5 minutes to talk about what's bothering you, and then the conversation will run over to something else. So
Or even worse, the friend or family member that you're sharing with just kind of eggs you on in a sense, doesn't really challenge you to see things differently or to take a new perspective, may just kind of feed into your negativity or fear or anxiety. The last thing I need whenever I'm having anxiety about wearing a mask is to talk to somebody else who has anxiety about wearing a mask, right? Like to feed off of that energy doesn't serve me. What I need is somebody who's going to be like, who's going to ask me the questions that's going to get my brain into a new state of thinking and new state of being and help me to overcome whatever it is that is making me freak about a mask, right? And that's any situation, from business to marriage to relationships, friendships to going out shopping, right? any
yeah,
any of these situations, a coach can really benefit you to help challenge you, and that's why I love coaching.
yeah, you come out on the other side as a better person.
100%. 100%. If you aren't prepared to find yourself a coach and you have a particular situation that you would like some coaching on, you're always welcome to email us at thisiscoachingshow@gmail.com. Send us questions, situations, stories, concerns, whatever it is that you would like some insight on. We'd be happy to address those with you. And of course, anonymously. If you ever wanted to come onto the show and actually get coached yourself, we'd love to have you on as well. So, any point that you want to get some coaching, you've got resources. We're here for you, and there are a plethora of coaches available to work with you and help empower your life. Monica, do you have anything you'd like to add in closing?
No, I just want to add that coaching is really, really important. Well, important. It's powerful, and now with the COVID situation, another thing to add: tapping. Look into that if you feel anxious or scared or have problems with actually get. There are a lot of tapping videos on YouTube as well, or reach out to us as well if you want. Um, there's tapping is one of the best ways to deal with emotions like these.
That's great. I'm gonna have to start. I need to tap more often. I gotta
Yeah,
get my tap on.
get your tapping.
I'll be tapping during labor. I'll be like, it's gonna be okay, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. This is coaching. This is coaching show. Man, that's a mouthful to say. But we are so glad that you are here and joined us today. We'd love to know your insight and any aha moments that you took away from this conversation. This is one that is near and dear to everyone, I believe, and we just need to come together to empower each other to get through these times. And so I hope that this has been a little bit of light in a dark time, and that this has helped to empower you to walk away and cope with COVID and whatever other transition you may be facing at this time. And until next time, my name is Nicolette Moore, joined with Monica Riva, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.